Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So a while ago, I did a survey on my Instagram, just polling my audience and asking a bunch of questions about what you think of my content, how you interact with it, how you interact with digital content in general. And I thought it would be a fun idea to go through the results with you and then what I think of what you think. And we can get all meta like that. So the survey was posted fairly soon after I got back from maternity leave because it felt like a bit of a fresh start, time to kind of like reprioritize, see what's going on, check in with the audience, see how everybody is doing, what people like. And so that's kind of why we did this. And then my assistant, Moog, created this wonderful PowerPoint presentation with the results. And so shout out to Moog, all credit to her for this PowerPoint that you are about to see. So let's just get started. 2022 Instagram survey results. Yes, we like to use GIFs of myself here at Team Witton HQ. So general content survey responses. So I was curious about what sort of content people are more likely to watch, i.e. long YouTube videos, long form. My home when it comes to video content, short, like Reels and TikTok, and then people who like both. And maybe this is just because we're surveying my audience, and like I said, my home is long form, and so 65% of people like the long YouTube style videos, and only 8% prefer short stuff. But then obviously like 27% like both. So there you go. I think I might be in the like both category now, but I prefer long overall. When making recommendations to you, so when I kind of share things that I like, what would you like the most? This result fascinated me. The fact that sex toys and sex positive businesses is kind of like not the top one. I was like, oh, I'm a sex educator, a sex content creator, and yet you're like, nah, don't give me the sex stuff. I want to know about books and media and TV shows and tech. Interesting. Well, that's kind of more happens on this channel, I guess. I mean, it was all pretty even for parenting, baby stuff, lifestyle, home, fashion, sex toys, and all of that. I found it really difficult to kind of group all of these categories. So I hope that even with all of the slashes, the results still kind of are reflective of reality somewhat. So now we're getting onto YouTube specifically. These two questions, one is about the Hannah Witton channel, one is about the More Hannah channel, and it's basically what kind of content is your most favorite and then your second favorite. So Hannah Witton channel first. So most favorite, by far over half of you, the Hormone Diaries. This was to be expected. It's definitely my most popular series on that channel at the moment because it's so personal and because it's about something that, you know, tends to be quite popular and get a lot of views on YouTube. Baby stuff, birth stuff, pregnancy, like all of that. I'm glad to see that the sex and relationships explainers are up there. Pleasure Trove being like the lowest is definitely something that I expected. I know from the data that it's not like the most popular series, but it's such an easy format to replicate, and especially now that we're doing the guest videos, such an easy format to kind of like slot a new voice and a new perspective into, which I love. And then the fun experiment. I definitely want to keep doing those. But then the second favorite, again, so sex and relationships is up there, and then it's kind of like even between the Hormone Diaries and the fun experiments, and again, Pleasure Trove. You guys don't like Pleasure Trove, I get it. More Hannah, top favorite, almost half of people, home parenting stuff. Well, lucky you, because that seems to be a lot of what is on this channel at the moment. And then books, media and culture, and then the organization, productivity stuff. And then I'm really surprised to see like the fashion style stuff so low as like most favorite. And also it's like low as a second favorite as well. So it's like low overall, because whenever I ask for requests and video ideas, there are so many people who are like fashion, style, clothing, like secondhand stuff, thrifting and all of that. So it's clearly a very vocal minority that are into like the fashion kind of content. Interestingly, most people's second favorite type is the organization productivity stuff. I mean, does this count? This is kind of like the behind the scenes, how I work. Is that part of this category? Maybe. 18% of you said it was your favorite, and then 32% said it's your second favorite. So quick maths, 50% of you hopefully are very happy right now. Interesting. Okay, some more YouTube stuff. If you watch vlogs, what's your preferred length? And the majority of people said 10 to 20 minutes. I mean, I can try and make a vlog that's 10 to 20 minutes. 20 to 30 minutes is also up there. So I think when making vlogs, I think I'm gonna try and aim to make most of them under 30 minutes. We will see. It depends if it's like a daily vlog or a weekly vlog, because there's a lot more content in a week. Is there anything in particular you like watching in my vlogs? And overwhelmingly, the parenting baby home stuff. And then work and behind the scenes content. Oh yeah. I think that when I do vlogs, it will primarily be a balance of those two things. The fashion and style and the books and shows and media stuff would only really be relevant if those things kind of like came into my day, or I was like, outfit of the day. Who knows? And then, very important question, do you feel represented / included in the content that I make on YouTube? And 80% said yes, 2% said no, and 18% said sometimes. So you might look at this and be like, that's a pretty good result. However, my producer very rightly pointed out that we don't know who specifically are the people answering this question. So I know my overall Instagram demographic, although it doesn't give data on race, it's like age and gender, but then again, it doesn't give information on gender identity or sexual orientation. Anyway, it's flawed. But I especially don't know the specific identities of people answering this. So it could be that all of the people who are like, yes, I feel represented, are white cis straight women like me, and maybe the 2% of people who say no, they don't feel represented, maybe all 442 of those people are white cis straight men. Who knows? But we do have some more information because I asked a follow-up question, which is, what is missing for you or would make you feel more represented? So I kind of think of this question as more for the Hannah Witton channel, which is like sex education, and I definitely want to make sure that those videos are really inclusive. This channel, however, is a lifestyle channel. It's like just me. If you are looking for like representation of other kinds of lifestyles, you're gonna have to subscribe to like lots of channels. But here's some things that people came up with. So ethical non-monogamy content, ace arrow spectrum content, trans non-binary rep and experiences, POC guests voices on the channel, disability, chronic illness, neurodiversity and relationships / sex, single people content. You're gonna have to go back like 6 or 7 years on my channel to find the single people content. It's there, it's there. Content for people younger than you / without the same life experience. I've always made content that is like relevant to things that I have been experiencing and thinking about. And naturally what's happened with that is that my audience is always roughly the same age as me and a bit younger and has like grown up with me. So whilst when I was making videos when I was 20 and they were appealing to like maybe 16, 17-year-olds, now when I'm making videos when I'm 30, they're kind of appealing to 25-year-olds. But I'm not making videos that appeal to 16-year-olds anymore, and I don't intend to. But if 16-year-olds find my content interesting and helpful, then great. It's not intentionally who I'm aiming at. More internationally accessible resources. So I'm assuming this means for like when I say more information and resources in the description. And yes, I mostly put in there UK, US, or at least English-speaking country resources. I'm from the UK. I don't have the capacity or the knowledge to go out there and find the equivalent resources for every single country. But of course there are like generally accessible international resources, things like the World Health Organization and the UN, like those are kind of organizations that I would like point to for a lot of the general topics that I cover that are international. But unfortunately, I cannot be the place that you go to be like, where can I find this resource in my country? I don't know, I'm sorry. Class difference / London life feels alienating. Fair enough. Find baby / parenting content alienating / difficult. Yes, that's totally understandable as well. Remaking / revisiting some OG teaching sex ed content, maybe. LGBTQ+, especially women loving women, inclusivity on sex topics and safe sex. Gender chat in videos, not just the podcast. Yes, because a lot of the suggestions of like representation and inclusivity of like lots of different sex topics and identities. In my head, I'm like, oh, well, we do that on the podcast. That's kind of like where we go for that, because I have lots of different guests and they have different identities to me. Whereas on the YouTube channel, it is still just me, and then the way that I speak and the way things are scripted, I try and be inclusive, but there's not necessarily always going to be inclusivity and diversity in the sense of like faces that you'll see on the channel. But maybe more of that now that we've got like guest hosted Pleasure Trove episodes, if we keep doing that, because according to the survey, you guys don't like Pleasure Trove. Stoma videos, this always comes really highly requested, but I often don't really have a lot to say about my stoma. Non-PIV sex topics and vaginismus explanations. I have a whole video about vaginismus if you're interested. Combating everyday ableism, anti-fat stigma and fat inclusive content, different bodies included in fashion videos. I only do fashion videos of myself, so it's just whatever my body looks like, but there are loads of amazing other YouTubers who are fat making fashion content on YouTube and on Instagram, so I would just recommend like watching more people and not just me. And then more Jewish content. Well, lucky you, because Vlognica's coming up. And then these YouTube survey thoughts are things that Moog put together. There was a comment about how it seems like Hannah's living the cis straight dream. And there's nothing wrong with that, but sharing more pet peeves / daily life difficulties would make the lifestyle content more relatable. Now, on the surface, you might think that this is a valid comment. However, it definitely rubs me the wrong way, because what I hear when I read that is, I need you to suffer for you to be relatable, and I need you to share your hardships for me to be able to relate to you. I have them. I've got plenty of pet peeves. I have a lot of daily life difficulties. I have a baby to look after. It's very difficult. I only want to share what I want to share. I'm not going to share all of that. I'm not going to cry on camera about, oh, woe is me, life is hard, in order to be relatable to more people. That's how I feel about that. Lots of concern that the channels will be exclusively baby / parenting focused from now on. Yes, I understand the concern. This channel, yes, there's going to be a lot more baby parenting content on this channel because it's my lifestyle channel and this is my life. But the sex and relationships channel, less so. You don't have to worry about it as much over there. The Hormone Diaries series is obviously going to still be kind of documenting a lot of that stuff, but other videos can be about anything. Multiple requests for guest hosts, hooray! Especially POC, people with different relationship styles, and queer hosts. So hopefully we've already been doing a bit of that with the Pleasure Trove episodes, but obviously keen to add more voices into the mix. There was an overwhelming request for more ace and arrow inclusion and content. Interesting. I don't actually think I've done a whole YouTube video explainer stuff about aromanticism and asexuality, but there's definitely a lot of stuff on the podcast about it, and got lots of interviews coming up with ace and arrow guests, or at least ace guests. I'm not sure about arrows, so that's something to look into. But maybe figuring out a way to bring that to the YouTube channel is a good thing. We got people asking for more London-based content, and also people saying it was alienating. Classic example of how you just can't win. Like, this same kind of content people are going to really love, and then other people are going to find really alienating, and that's just the way that it is. And then multiple people thanked you for using inclusive language. I thank you. Okay, now we're on to Instagram. So what do you primarily use Instagram for? And half of people say keeping up to date with friends, and then following celebrities and influencers, inspiration, and news. I think for me it might be a similar order. When do you consume most social media content? Weekday evenings. That is when most of us are all on our phones. Okay, which of these do you consume the most of? This surprised me. I was not expecting, but stories. Stories are the highest, like 61%. And then feed posts, like 1% lives, 7% reels. But the thing is that might be like intentionally consuming reels, because I know I accidentally consume a lot of reels just from scrolling on Instagram. It's just like reel, reel, reel. But that's really interesting about stories, because I feel like I'm bad at posting on stories, and like how much of posting on stories is like about connecting to your existing audience versus growing an audience. I feel like it's more about the connecting. Do you discover people by watching stories? Probably not, I don't know. And then what kinds of images do you prefer / engage with? Off the cuff and casual, overwhelmingly people's preference, and then polished and professional, people don't really care for. Well, no, because a lot of people also have no preference. Next, what kinds of feed posts in terms of captions do you prefer / engage with? Short captions, long captions, no preference. So most people have no preference. I was surprised to see that long captions less than short captions, because I feel like I get more engagement on posts when there's a long caption, but maybe that's just the nature of it. You know, you give more, you get more. Okay, which category do you most like to see from the Hannah Witton Instagram? So this is my personal Instagram account. Over half of you, the parenting, baby, and home stuff, which is good for me because I tend to not really post that much like sex and relationship stuff on that Instagram. Like occasionally I do, and usually if I'm working with a brand, that's where they want that content. But in terms of like the sex education stuff, I tend to just save that for the Doing It podcast Instagram account. So that's good to know because I don't really have a content plan for my Instagram. So it's nice that I can still keep it very casual and just like my life. But then obviously the next most popular is the sex and relationship stuff. And then the least amount of people wanted the work and productivity behind the scenes chat. Oh well. Oh well. But hold on, but when it comes to reels, favorite kinds of reels is days in the life behind the scenes, and then educational reels, comedy. I'm not gonna try and do any comedy, but I was just trying to think of genres of reels. And then fashion / travel. Why? Yeah, I was just trying to think of genres of reels that I've seen. Great, Hannah, good surveying. Okay, Instagram survey thoughts. General edition. So this is general, not Doing It podcast, because that's coming up. Okay, the general consensus is that people like unpolished content, day in the life, consuming stories, which makes sense when most people say they use IG to keep up with their friends and you're their parasocial friend. Yes, I am. Short captions or no preference are most popular. And then Moogs also put here, I did see a report suggesting more people prefer the information in a post to be in the image or video rather than the caption. So that's something to keep in mind. Obviously, to keep it accessible, you would still need to put it in the caption or like image description. We also asked about requests for highlights on my page that would be useful to people, and so I needed to do that. But some of the top ones were books read by year, active promo codes, video links, outfit of the days, about intro section, and past survey results. Oh, so save highlights of this survey, and also like the sexy surveys that I do as well. Oh, that's going to take some scrolling back through my Instagram stories to find. Oh yeah, and then I also asked for some brand collab requests. So those have been noted. All right, next up, Doing It survey responses. So this is about the podcast. How do you listen to podcasts? Majority of people, audio only. And then next is a mix. And then 10% of you watch video versions of podcasts. Interesting. How long do you like Doing It episodes to be? So almost half, the majority of people said 30 to 40 minutes. The next popular is the 40 to 50. I feel like some of the podcast episodes have been getting longer and longer, but more recently for this season, we've been trying to aim for like the 45-minute mark. So hopefully that is to your taste. What would you like to see more of when following Doing It on Instagram? And most people said guests and their projects, which is really cool because we definitely love shouting out about guests that we've had on and promoting like future work that they do as well and just supporting them. Then we have quotes from the podcast, sex positive recommendations, and updates about the podcast. That's kind of like the broad spectrum of what we do. Would you like to see guest takeovers on the Doing It Instagram? And overwhelmingly, lots of you said yes. We've been trying to figure out how we do this, asking guests when we record with them if they would fancy doing a takeover when their episode goes out. So maybe you'll be seeing some of that stuff, fingers crossed. And yeah, let us know what you think. Okay, and then we have the representation question again, but for the podcast. 78% of people said they feel represented by the podcast, 2% no, 20% sometimes. So it's kind of similar to the YouTube channel. But again, we don't know who these people are who are answering this. Is it a useless exercise? But these are some of the topic areas or things that are missing and would make people feel more represented. Spirituality / religion, that is something that we've got like 1 or 2 guests lined up that kind of cover that area a little bit. Asexuality and demisexuality, this came up a lot. We do have a lot of that coming up on the podcast. Disability / invisible disabilities. Yeah, this is something that I'm always keen to include. Obviously, we're coming at it from the angle of sex and relationships and dating because that's what the podcast is about, but definitely keen to include more of that. Fertility journeys, neurodiversity. We do have quite a few episodes with neurodiverse guests coming up soon or already out, whenever this comes out. More lesbians, types of lesbian dynamics, e.g. Stone Butch, Pillow Princess. we'll look into it. Intersex guests, global guests, that's something that we have definitely been working on recently, having more of a global reach with people that we interview. Casual sex/sex in your 20s, late bloomers, non-binary experiences, sillier, more light-hearted episodes. This is something that when we saw, we were like, yeah, the podcast is quite serious. Yeah, definitely keen to try and do some more silly and light-hearted episodes and trying to figure out the best way to go about that, because it really depends on the guest and the topic and the vibe. Usually I can achieve the more silly or light-hearted episodes if I'm interviewing somebody who is already a friend of mine, who I know, but then that reduces the pool of like guests in terms of identity and representation as well. So I don't know. Gen Z stuff, we had Deja Fox. She's definitely Gen Z. I feel weird saying Gen Z as a British person. It should be Gen Z. And then we also have more straight people. I'm on the podcast every week, so there's your representation. Okay, so doing its survey thoughts, this is what Moog put together. Highlights updates should include episodes grouped by topic and info about the guests. So many people were asking for transcripts. We should make it clearer that we have these. We have transcripts. We have transcripts. Moog works very hard on them. Use them, read them if you want. Guest story takeovers, give us more guest content and increase our stories output. Some more light-hearted episodes interspersed with serious topics would be popular. And then this is something that we could think of for minisodes if we're good for guests so far. We are very good for guests so far. We've got a lot of recordings scheduled in. We are like ahead of the game. So yeah, we need to think about sillier, light-hearted episodes for the future. More information about the guests, and then overwhelming requests for more ACE, spectrum, and disability content. Interesting, very popular topics. Newsletter survey answers. Are you subscribed to my newsletter? 63% of you said no. How dare you? No, it's fine. It's fine. And then 10% of you didn't know that I had a newsletter. I have a newsletter. It comes out on the 1st of every month, and it's one of the best ways to keep up to date with actual stuff that is going on in my life and in the work projects realm. What makes you sign up for a newsletter? And most of you said that you like their writing or you want to hear more from them. Well, that is an ideal reason to sign up to my newsletter. Exclusive/early access to things was the next popular, and you kind of get early access to knowledge about things from my newsletter, I would say. Digital freebie with each newsletter, and then digital freebie when signing up. We did have these, but now we do not. And so now we're trying to figure out from these survey results what new digital freebies could be good. This bit was honestly surprising to me. So what's your favorite/second favorite section of the newsletter? So the sections are, we have the intro, like blog post from me essentially, project developments, there's a sexuality spotlight and carnal knowledge section, and then current faves. Current faves was people's favorite and second favorite. So it's like the top one. Surprising. That's where I kind of include lifestyle stuff like the books, media, shows, games, that general stuff. And I was shocked, honestly. I was confused. I would have thought that it would be like the project developments, maybe, like a bit of behind the scenes. But either way, it is still like fairly even across the board, but still, current faves. Okay, so we were suggesting some ideas for a digital freebie upon signing up. So things like organization and productivity templates seem to be top priority for people. But then equally, lots of people are like, don't need or want one. So cool. Digital wallpapers/stickers. This actually reminds me that there is a welcome pack when you sign up to my Patreon that has a whole host of like desktop and phone wallpapers of like the Common Room Patreon branding. So there's that. And then voice notes Q&As as an option. Did you sign up primarily for Sexy Scribbles? So Sexy Scribbles was the like sexy coloring page that came out every month with the newsletter. And 70% of you said yes, that's why you signed up, and 37% no, and 46% of you aren't signed up to the newsletter. Rude. I'm joking. And then, would you unsubscribe if there was no more Sexy Scribbles? And 90% of you said no. Thank you, that was very reassuring because I do not have the capacity to continue Sexy Scribbles. But 10% of you said yes, so maybe we'll have 430 people exactly unsubscribe from the newsletter. So we'll see. Sad. So next, I asked about Patreon. So what is the main reason you support someone, not just me, on Patreon? And the most popular was you like the person/projects. And then next popular was want to provide financial support, And then kind of even at the bottom there was for a specific perk and some behind the scenes / feeling closer to the person or the project. Cool. That's really nice because the ones that are most popular basically require no extra work from the creator. And it just shows that people just like really want to support creators that they like to be able to make the content that they like, which is really cool. But let's talk about perks. So which perks would most likely attract you to my Patreon? So picking books / themes for a book club, this is entirely hypothetical. One-off merchandise, we've kind of done this a bit with the special offers, but I've not run a special offer in a while, but we had like stickers, pins, and a bookmark. So more of that because that seems popular. And then other things that we kind of suggested was asking Qs for Q&As, which I kind of do already. Like I often like ask my patrons in the Discord server about like video ideas and like getting their feedback and asking for questions and stuff. And monthly fashion lookbooks. None of you are interested in that. Cool, that's fine. Probably not gonna make it. Oh, okay, so this is the interesting part. If you've been thinking about signing up to my Patreon but haven't, what do you think would make you decide to join? Personally, being in a better financial position. That is absolutely fair. I do not want to put anyone in a financially precarious situation in order to join my Patreon. Absolutely not, especially in this economy. So that is obviously completely fine, and you got to look after you first. A £1 tier or a £3 tier? Well, you'll be happy to know that there is a £3 tier. That is currently the lowest tier. So a few years ago, I actually did this big like reshuffle of my Patreon. I used to have a £1 tier, and then that got removed, and now the lowest is £3. I did this based on general advice from Patreon about not having £1 as your lowest tier because of platform fees and payment processing fees. It's just not worth it to have like £1 or $1 be a tier because you're just not really going to see a lot of that. But this is interesting, and I think it came up quite a bit. And so it's like, do I add a £1 tier where there's like no perks and it's kind of just like a tip jar, like if you just have a quid to spare every month? And would that actually help to increase my Patreon earnings, or would it actually decrease my Patreon earnings because a lot of people from the 3 tier would drop down to the 1? I don't know. There's definitely something to try and figure out there because my tiers haven't been reshuffled in a while, so maybe it's due a bit of a spruce up, something a bit new and spicy. But it's about finding that right balance where people feel like the value that you've put into a tier reflects the price tag on it. Knowing what difference it made to you and other creators. I'm sure you'll be able to find lots of examples online of people talking about how having a Patreon has helped them make the content that they do. For me, it really helps like knowing that I have this regular income when a lot of other parts of the income that I have are a lot more unreliable, let's say. It means that I don't have to rely on brand deals as much. It means that I can, work with a team and create the content that I do, and it being really focused on the community and it being community funded and it kind of like being this constant conversation, really. I love it. I love it. Specific revenue breakdown explaining how Patreon helps you and why you need it. This is interesting because I don't think I could do this the same way that I do my like revenue breakdown, because this is more like an expenses breakdown, because essentially everything like just goes into a pot and then expenses get paid from there. So I can tell you that like my rent here in this studio, the cost of that is like a third of my Patreon income. And then I could maybe pay 1.5 of my team members with the rest of the Patreon income. It's not like this Patreon money is specifically reserved for this thing. It just all kind of like gets added to the pool, but it is becoming like a more significant slice of the pie in order to pay for things like my team and this studio and everything else. Understanding Discord more. There are lots of help articles on the Patreon website for that. And also everyone in the Common Room Discord server is super friendly, and if you're struggling, will absolutely help you out. Personal contact with Hannah. So this isn't something that I necessarily advertise because I actually don't really want this to be the reason why people sign up to my Patreon, because it's like, but I'm in the Discord server chatting away, and also Patreon has like a direct messaging situation, but I do not guarantee that I will respond to direct messages, because if I get a creepy vibe, I'm not responding. Constantly getting something extra and not just early access. That would require a lot of work. I'll think about it, but there is a monthly reading list that I do of like articles and videos and podcasts that I've consumed. More Dan/more Rowan. I mean, there's sometimes a bit of Rowan chat in the kids table channel in the Discord server, but I feel weird that you would be joining my Patreon for like more of my husband and my baby. A book club, a trial/preview to see how you and your patrons interact. That would be really cool. Patreon would need to have a function for that on the platform, and if they did, that would be something that I would use because I think that's a really cool idea. Support getting involved in the community. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but again, like the people in the Discord server are very friendly. Reminders to join. Hey, join my Patreon. Live videos/private IG account. I'm not gonna do the private IG account thing, but there are monthly live streams for patrons. So there's that. A YouTube video explaining what Patreon is, how you use it, tour of perks. That is a good idea. Maybe that'll be a New Year thing. And then one-off month memberships rather than subscription. I mean, you can just cancel it, but there's no function to just sign up for a month and have it auto-cancel. You would have to manually cancel it, but you can just join for a month. So then Moog put together this slide of anything else responses, and they're all very, very lovely, and I'm not going to read them out and toot my own horn, but you can pause the video and read them if you want, but thank you so much. And then I have to share this with you. Bonus, thanks for your answers, I guess, edition. These are some interesting responses we got. It is supposed to talk about sex and not politics. I'm not sure as I didn't check all the podcast subjects, but more cisgender stuff. I don't watch LGBTG etc. vids. Not that I don't like this people, I just don't enjoy this content. Are you sure? So this was in response to what would make you feel more represented/included. Okay, oh, I remember this. Standing up for me when your fellow fans are bullying me in the comments section for simply asking why you're covering Rowan's face, which by the way, I wouldn't do as a mother. No comment. Free yourself from the lie that you have to do woke bidding. It's poisoning you and your brand. Make OnlyFans. Breasts, not even kidding. Ass would be good too. I think I need ass would be good too on a t-shirt. Remember what you used to be. It's called social, not woke TV. What does it mean? You're great. Leave baby stuff to people with nothing more interesting to say. That is brutal. And on that note, thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this dive into the survey results and kind of like my thoughts on them and thought processes of like what's going on behind the scenes and what we're up to and how we kind of like take your feedback on board. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to partake in any future surveys that I do, Instagram is the place to be. So if you have an Instagram account, go follow me there if you would like to. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!